Hello, welcome to the Physique Mastery Podcast. This is Scott Tuzana along with Brian Cron. Today we got a kind of a blanket topic here of managing muscle damage and recovery. It kind of ties in a little bit with sleep, with managing your overall lifestyle, with training form, technique, just managing your volume and your training program. A lot of it really stems from a great conversation that we had in our Physique Mastery movement. One of the things that we do is encourage form check videos with our clients. So they'll see me executing our video demonstrations, and a lot of the focus is on proper technique, form, mind-muscle connection. So I give lots of cues to help them maximize the benefits of the exercise, and they'll post their form check videos in there, and it's all great movements. But Brian will make a comment every once in a while that we also, as much as we love to see flawless technique and everything, we also like to see effort. Like, we want to see some violent sets there, at least some violent reps where you're pushing it a little beyond failure. You're not afraid to use some supporting muscles to help you get through it. And I think it's an interesting topic, because when you start bringing up those types of conversations where you're talking about not training with great form and you're talking about training beyond failure, you can get a little bit of backlash from the evidence-based community that are really solely focused on the research there. And, especially with recent research that has come out in regards to training to failure, saying that you got to be very careful with how you train to failure. It should only be saved for isolation exercises at the end of a workout, because if you're training to failure, it's going to take you longer to recover from the workouts. And to that, Brian, you and I had a great conversation earlier that really got us fired up. So what are some of your thoughts on managing muscle damage and recovery? Because this is a topic that we're obviously passionate about. You look back to, we reference pumping iron and stuff, and you see these guys. You see the guys in the gym. They're they're giving effort. And Arnold will say something like, "It's the last 3 reps that count." So obviously, it's working for these guys, but it's so much more. As you'll go on and explain now.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Arnold. And man, you watch pumping iron and you see the level of effort they put in, and it's very, I find it inspiring, and it's always been a slap in my face. I'm like, I can be working harder. I can take at least one set per exercise and just take it to absolute failure. Like, maybe not total, eccentric failure where someone's forcing reps and all that jazz, but just where I cannot do another rep with reasonable form. And of course that gets backlash. People are saying, "Oh, you don't need to work to failure to build muscle." And as always, like, context is everything. And on the one hand, I'm watching pumping iron, and Arnold at the time, he's 7 times to Olympia, or 6 or whatever. So he's trying to add a lot, some very much additional icing to his cake. Like, he's kind of exhausted. He's exhausted the easy gains. Like, there's no newbie gains happening there. So that's a bit of context. I mean, he had to work that hard, or has, whatever. He had to work that hard to keep building.
He earned that volume. He earned the film.
He earned, that's a wonderful way to put it. He earned the right to use that level of intensity and that amount of volume. But the other thing, like we were talking before, this is like, there's so many other variables at play here that when people start throwing around blanket recommendations, that it's just, I just give a massive eye roll. And again, I bring up Arnold. Like, when I saw him in Venice a year or 2 ago, just being struck by the size of his wrists, like the size of his limbs. Like, he's just such a big, thick dude. Just that is his structure. That, again, he's got that genetic real estate to be able to work that hard and have it be beneficial. So, I mean, and that's just that variable. Then there's like, how much are you sleeping? What's your diet like? All of these things affect recovery. That, again, so whenever someone tries to get too definitive with prescribing something that works for everybody, I always take a step back and say, well, let's look at the populations you're working with here and their context. So.
Exactly. There's only so much. I mean, we put a great deal of thought and strategy into designing our workout plans to help manage muscle damage and recovery, but you could even reduce the volume for those workouts. If you're sleeping like shit, you're not getting adequate protein in your diet, your stress levels are through the roof, you're not going to recover like someone else who may take that same plan and throw in some extended sets at the end where they're using a little bit of body English. They're getting a little violent and aggressive with those movements at the end. They still may end up recovering better than you because your overall lifestyle is kind of sucks compared to theirs.
Yeah, I mean, and it's about maintaining a hierarchy of what's important. Like, I made the mistake of being on Facebook before we came on here, and someone was saying, well, you know, I really like this fasting program I'm doing. Like, he goes, but just the only problem is when I work out, I don't really have much energy. You know, and so my workouts are kind of shitty, but I really like the fasting. And I just jumped in right away, and I'm like, dude, like, adjust your meal frequency, adjust something, because training is the fucking priority. Right. I mean, that's the big rock. I mean, your meal frequency and stuff, like, it can all be manipulated to help you reach a certain goal, but if you're having shitty workouts because of this particular meal strategy you're following, then you got to adjust it. I don't mean abandon it entirely. Maybe like don't train fasted. That was my advice to him. But It's just like, again, it's overall context. Like, you have to look at these recommendations and see where it fits in the grand scheme of things. Like, I don't even want to fucking hear from people about this thing if they're not sleeping consistently 7-8 hours a night. Like, fix that. Fix that.
Picture perfect form isn't going to do a whole lot, and stopping 2 reps short of failure isn't going to help you a whole lot if you're sleeping like crap and eating like crap. And
Yeah, exactly. If you're getting shit faced once a week, fix that. Apologize, but that, like, you got to hit the really important things. Like, if you don't have a really good idea of how much protein you eat every day, and it's at a good amount, then fix that. I mean, like, there's so many big rocks that you have to, like, get in place before you worry about other stuff.
Yeah, getting on Facebook and debating about making yourself sound smart because you're like, that's that form that you're trained to failure. You're losing gains there. You're gonna overtrain. Like, people love to pick that shit apart when it's easy to sit behind a computer. How long are you sitting behind the computer and arguing with people all day long? Just fucking get in the gym and train. But I think there's when you do this properly and you save it for a last set, you get a lot out of it. I find, like, when you do, for our form check videos, when I'm demonstrating movements, I want our clients to see how to do it properly. That's one thing. I'm demonstrating. Usually it's the first week on a plan where my load is like 70% of what I normally do for that rep range, and really just focusing on flawless technique there. But as the weeks are progressing, and my third set or fourth set, I'm getting a little more violent with those movements, but you get something out of it. There's something about grunting and grinding out a set that it just makes you, it's part of the overall experience. It keeps you coming back. It makes you feel like a fucking empowered bro. And I don't know. I think it's all part of the overall experience. And as long as you're paying attention to those, you can train that way. If you've got your other shit in order and everything, don't be afraid to push some sets here and there beyond ideal picture perfect form.
And again, like, context is everything. Like, I love to do good mornings, and I do them fairly heavy, fairly intensely for a quote unquote bodybuilder, but that's I'm very much plugged in when I'm doing that. I don't treat it like a cheat curl or something, like, where I could just maybe go for an extra one because whatever. Like, that's because it's risky in the grand, it's a risky exercise. So again, context is everything. Like, you're not gonna, I don't know. I guess my golden rule is to always err on the side of working harder. Like, just err on the side of pushing yourself a little bit further. And that's the beauty of leg days, especially like an exercise like a leg press. People always have probably 10 more reps in them.
It's unreal how much more you have in you. When you flip that switch, oh my God, it's mind-blowing how much more you have in you.
And then, of course, is that necessary to build muscle to reach that actual limit? If you're at a certain level, I think it is. If you're, a Dorian Yates or an Arnold or whatever, yeah, but even for regular schmoes like us, it's definitely better to push closer to that where the growth begins, man, where you're forcing your body to adapt. I mean, that's...
Yep. Yeah. And being picky and choosy. I think the mistake that I see with a lot of people is, beginners, it's not necessary, but as well as see people take that, they see Arnold pushing it, or they'll see their favorite bodybuilder. It's a clip from their workout where they're crying, they're yelling and screaming so loud. You're just seeing a clip of that. You're not seeing their entire workout. But they'll get in there and they're like, every single set is like that. Well, then that's not the best approach there.
No, you learn how to manage it. And you learn how to be like, all right, I'm having one of those days where it's a miracle that I'm even here. My brain is all over the place. Okay, I'm just going to get the reps in. I'm going to do the exercises and not try to kill myself in the process. I mean, you have those days and you have other days where everything is just dialed in and your nervous system is on and there's no place you'd rather be, and if everything kind of just feels light, like those are the days just to go for it. And train to failure. Push past your limits. I mean, you have to. I don't know. Maybe it's my age. Those days are they don't come around as often, so you have to jump on them when you get them.
Right. Yeah. So a bit of an intuitive approach to training to failure. Just picking and choosing your places where to do it. Doesn't have to be all the time, but put in the freaking effort. Definitely I see effort lacking out there. Again, people going through the motions and it looks good, but a little moaning and groaning is good.
I think if you took it and you made a graph of something like the bad things that can happen if you work too hard versus the good things that can happen, I think, man, the good side is going to be much, much further. I mean, I've been times where I've trained, took a set too far, and there have been times I've hurt myself. Absolutely, but just whatever progress I've made, I attribute just to being very, very consistent, always trying to push the envelope a little bit more, push it a little bit more. That's, especially as it turns into a grind, you have to push your body,
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. Again, you talked earlier, the risk reward. So finding those exercises too that there's a little less risk. Squatting, deadlifting, some of those movements you got to be a little more cautious with. But again, just there is a little more risk involved. But pick and choose the right exercises, and the payoff is usually it's up there.
It's just. Well, it's all your fault, Scott. You train with such good form on the videos, and people are like, "Oh, man."
Know. Yeah. They are, but it is good. It's great to see that they're watching and they're mirroring the great form. But then you take that and all right, let's give a little body English on the last set and see the effort, see the violence in there. And I love it. It's a perfect blend, a nice marriage when you bring it all together.
Absolutely.
But I think focusing on the proper form to begin with is key.
Yeah.
Because then afterwards, at least you got that foundation built, and then you've earned the right to get a little more violent with that movement there.
Absolutely. Good.
Very good.
Good thoughts.
It's the fun factor. Obviously, you hear how fired up we get. And you see it in the gym, the guys who are pushing that effort. That's why I love going to that. I'll drive 2 hours to go to that hardcore bodybuilding gym.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Because you're surrounded by people like that. You hear the grunting and groaning. You see the effort. You feel the effort. And you're like, damn, I need to step up my game. And you can. It's very easy to say, well, these guys are on some performance enhancing stuff here. They can recover a little bit better. But I don't care. You could be on that stuff if you're not putting in that kind of effort. That's a mind thing. I think that's just that's opening up a whole new world in your brain. Like you said with the leg press, most people think they stop way, way short of what they can do and with the movement. So it's great to tap into that mind. I think that's athletes at all levels. I know in track and field that was a big thing for me. Stepping out of that when you feel that burn kicking in during the sprints, it's especially the 400 meters, you got to flip that switch in your head the last 100 meters and give it. You could drop dead right there at 300 meters, but you got to give everything you got to get to that finish line. I see that with the weightlifting. And if you look at our training for the 400 meters, again, we weren't training balls out 400 meters every single time. We do little sets leading up to it, and then give the effort. So I think it all applies. But yeah, love being surrounded by that effort and seeing people push it. It's all part of the experience. Love it.
I would rather be around people who train kind of poorly but bust their ass than be around people who train just perfectly but kind of mail it in, or they're just because there's no energy, man. There's no, when I say poorly, it's not like over the top, like they're throwing barbells around, but like just getting after it. Because that's where progress happens. So yeah.
I agree, man. This is a fun topic. This is excellent. I love it. It. Very good. Very good. All right. So we're expecting in our group there, we're going to see some great form check videos as well as some real grinding it out here. We're going to see some people pushing it here. It's awesome. I love it.
Oh, no. We just asked for injuries. Oh, no.
That's great. All right, man. We'll catch up to you guys next time. We have a great topic coming up on nutrition on the next podcast. So we'll catch you guys in the next episode.